All right, guys. Welcome to the GameDay Huddle. No intro today, and we've got the cast of characters today. We're down a camera, so we apologize. But these guys, they get to cuddle.
We're squeezing in.
So we got Jay up, we got the Godfather Jimmy, and we've got Johnny Rip in the building. Who's here to first off hear me, and let me start. I'm going to open the show very, very appropriately, guys. I've been incredibly wrong. I've made some mistakes, and I'm here to own up to them.
Today is owning up to your mistakes today.
Today. So here's the thing. We all know we're starting with football today, and there's just no getting around it. We're going to be talking football. Each and every Monday for the rest of the football season, we are going to be coming in and doing over-under, which is we are going to say what we think was overreactions from the weekend and what was underwhelming from the weekend. A lot went on, a lot of things. Now, I want to do a quick overreaction before we get into football, just really quick. At the UFC fight here in Vegas on Saturday night, they booed the Queen.
Stockton bad boy.
So that's exactly it. So here's the thing. I don't think a lot of people understand that like UFC is such an international sport. We get it in Vegas because we get all the tourists, we get all the people that come. But that was pretty telling on the crowd to boo the Queen. Obviously Queen Elizabeth passed, for those of you who missed that news, because you were setting your fantasy lineups or whatever we were doing.
Embarrassing.
I saw all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that was definitely something that kind of set me up. So that was definitely underwhelming to me. The crowd at T-Mobile Arena booing the Queen.
So a little bit backstory of what was going on with Khamzat Chimaev. So he's obviously not from here. He's from he trains over there in England. So that's the reason why.
Oh, okay.
So because of the fact that everybody was pissed that he missed weight, he basically gave the FU. He really didn't try.
Okay.
He said the doctors shut him down, which, when you come in to eat, he was actually 14 pounds over the day before, which, I've wrestled my whole life, and I always knew I had to get to 7 pounds. If I was 7 pounds over the day before, I could get down. No matter what it was, I could get 7 pounds off the day before. Most professionals fluctuate between 10 to 12 pounds. Coming in 14s, that's a hell of a cut. That's a lot of damn water weight that you're going to try to burn off the day before a fight. He said he's done it before. Well, his kidneys, everything started shutting down. It is what it is. The doctor said no more. Then he basically didn't come out and apologize. He didn't say, sorry, guys, I missed weight. He's like, the doctor shut me down. F you. He even flipped off the crowd as he was stepping off the scale. So anything that showed up that wasn't American was going to get booed. 100%.
You know what I loved about it? I love the fact that Nate Diaz, like his take on the whole thing was, I didn't really want to deal with it in the first place. However, I was willing to fight him. He's still going to have to take me down. He's still going to have to beat me. And then afterwards, he was like, dude didn't prepare himself to fight me. He didn't want to fight me. And I could also tell that. And that, I mean, you know what? Let's be fair. Nate Diaz now, whatever Nate Diaz is doing now, I think he's going to go fight. What is he going to go fight? Jake Paul?
That's what it sounds
Is that
like.
what the game plan is?
I think so.
That's what it sounds like to me.
So they need Jake to win next month, and then Jake wins next month, and Nate Diaz is on the docket?
Yep.
No, I don't think he fights. I think he fights his brother.
Oh, Logan.
I think
he fights Logan?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know if Logan would fight a trained UFC fighter that's currently fighting.
No, he's been... Because he's looking for the big money.
Yep,
and I think the big money
that
is going to be the bigger
Huge.
Paul brother. So
I didn't even think about that.
That was my first thought when he said
You're
that
right.
after the fight,
You're
that he
right.
was going to fight the older brother. But who knows? He's got to get through Spider Silva now.
That's going to be...
He does, and Spider can strike. He always showed that he could strike. He wasn't the top striker in the sport at the time, but he was pretty damn good.
No, he's mostly known for his knees and his kicks, but we'll see how he does.
So, UFC aside, we got into the kickoff of, the biggest time period that we celebrate every year, which is the NFL season. Officially made it. It came on Thursday night. I'm just going to touch on that real quick. I think what happened Thursday is exactly what anybody in this room thought would happen. The Bills are really good. There was going to be a little bit of a fallback on the Rams. The Rams didn't look horrible. However, they did have a lot of mistakes. And the mistakes really, you can't make mistakes against the Bills. I think that's the telling thing.
And I think a lot of it is these guys that don't play in the preseason and then go right out there to 110 miles an hour on the it's impossible for them to adjust to the game speed. I know they see it every day in practice, but there's when those bright lights come on, and those guys, you got Khalil Mack and who else was on the Chargers defensive line? Derwin James and Bosa. You got those guys flying at you. Like Carr had no chance until the second half. He was like, "Oh, it snaps." He figures out the pace of the game and he realizes it. How many games this weekend, Jay? Second half's just.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about too. Remember all preseason we were talking about in camp. He had in the scrimmages he hadn't thrown one interception, and then he comes out and throws 3.
Unloads his entire preseason.
He's
in one
all
game.
in one shot. Yeah, you know who didn't look good though in that Rams game, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit, was Jalen Ramsey. He got
old.
He got burned quite a bit. And it didn't matter really who he was covering. He wasn't shadowing Diggs all the entire game, but he got burned quite a bit. Yeah. I was actually surprised by that. Again, you can chalk it up to maybe the game speed. But I think that the Rams will bounce back. I don't think they're going to be, we're locking them in for the Super Bowl necessarily, but they'll bounce back. That was a tough Bills team they played, and the Bills are locked and loaded to win it all this year, and everyone's kind of picking them to be in the Super Bowl. So that was a tough game. And the Bills came out and made a statement, like, I don't care who we're playing. We don't care about the heat because they said it was very hot in California, just like it was here in Vegas. They didn't care. They came out and just stomped all over the Rams.
Remember that fall off that Darrelle Revis had?
Yes.
And it was instant. It was literally one game he was shut down, and the next game it was done.
So he was an island, and all of a sudden the island was flooded.
Yeah, exactly. He got hit by Hurricane Josh Allen.
Right.
All right. So Ramsey, I had that same take on that, and I thought Josh Allen looked incredibly good. I think the things that I was reading in the offseason about Josh Allen really showed, which was he improved his short game because he's got a big arm. We know that. There were things that I was seeing where he threw the ball too hard on short routes. And a lot of times it was stuff, and they kind of stepped it back. And I'm telling you that little bit of touch that he had on those underpasses is going to be the difference for that team this year.
Yeah, there was Stephon Diggs. I think was the one that came out his first year there and was like, Jesus, he almost broke my damn fingers. Like, he ran like a 10-yard curl. Yeah. And he was like, holy shit. I think he went back to the huddle and was like, listen, if you want me to catch these balls, you can't be throwing it 105 miles an hour at me from 10 yards away.
Right.
For God's sake. It's not a jugs machine, for God's sake.
Exactly. Well, everybody anointed Josh Allen the MVP after the game, before the rest of the weekend even started.
For the whole weekend.
I think this guy has something to say about it. What was your take, Johnny Rip, on Mahomes' performance?
The Cardinals stink. They're terrible. J.J. Watt wasn't out there, but their defense is really, really bad. But, Patty's going to be Patty. It doesn't matter who's out there with him. He's going to find him. Edwards-Helaire looked good. Jay's boy Pacheco looked good. They didn't even need to use Sky Moore, their highly touted draft pick. Patty's Patty, and that's what he's going to do. But I just think the Cardinals are stink. So we'll see.
I 100% agree with that take. Cardinals are really a bad team, right? So it's kind of hard to measure that. But Pat Mahomes had a little chip on his shoulder because everyone was saying he's going to be, taking a couple notches down because you lost Tyreek Hill. What are you going to do without Tyreek Hill? You replace them with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Juju, and you draft Sky Moore. Yep. You don't have like that big name player, right? You have just a bunch of guys. Yep. So he goes out and he says, okay, I'll show you what I have. I'm going to throw for 5 touchdowns. And the thing that pissed me off is that I'm sitting there watching the game, and I have a couple of guys on the Cardinals, and every time they get the ball, it's 3 and out.
Yeah.
And Mahomes is still throwing. I was like, you're up by 30 points in the fourth quarter. Why are you still throwing? Right. Like, get him out of the game. You had your 5 touchdowns. You threw for over 300 yards. Thank you. Have a nice day. Like, let's call off the dogs at some point. And they're up by 30 points in the fourth, and they still were calling off the dogs.
I would guess, and this is just me, but I would guess that was probably a Mahomes call.
It was a statement. Yeah, exactly.
And I guarantee you,
we don't need Tyreek Hill.
Well, it wasn't just the Tyreek Hill thing. I actually think the Tyreek Hill thing probably wasn't as much of a motivator as it was that everyone else had jumped him in the league. Mm-hmm. And that he had already gotten knocked because he was, Brett Favre, but more of a gambler, and all these knocks that he had coming out of the draft.
You want to make
and so for him to ascend to the top and then all of a sudden be knocked because he had the start of 5 games of a season, 6 games last season that started off kind of rough, right? And then there you go. So, again, I think that was Mahomes trying to remind everybody, like, hey, Monday morning when you go take a look at the stat lineup, you can go ahead and look at mine, and then you can talk about how good the receivers are that Josh Allen has and how good the receivers I have aren't.
I'm pretty sure I read right before the game, too, that he's actually undefeated in week 1.
Yeah, week 1 he's undefeated.
And the Cardinals they didn't touch him either, so him being out there wasn't I was stunned by how bad the Cardinals, because they have some good defensive guys. Budda Baker's probably one of the best safeties in the league. I mean, not having Watt out there killed, but they looked so bad. And they have a bunch of first-round linebackers out there, too, and I was stunned.
Isaiah Simmons was the fastest guy in the league.
Yep. And he plays every position on
like
defense. Linebacker, slot corner.
But unfortunately not at the same time.
No, not at the same time.
Well, and
terrible. That's terrible.
That brings us to Monday night game tonight. We got Broncos and Seahawks. Who's the worst team in that division now that you saw the Cardinals play?
Seattle.
Is it Seattle or is...
Yeah, Arizona's
in
lucky.
first place, right? 0-0. Sitting atop the division.
Arizona's lucky that Seattle's in their division because they'll be overshadowed as the worst team in the division.
Right. Now, that division, the NFC West, going into the night, didn't win a game, right?
No.
Correct.
What happened here this afternoon?
This happened?
6-11 a year ago.
Look how far he slides there. Look at him go. He's got massive yardage on this slide.
There weren't many
in two dynasty leagues, so I'm kind of glad he didn't hurt himself.
So, here's the thing. I absolutely love the fact, I'm not going to lie, that the Bears celebrated like that. I thought that was great. What I think is the big knock on this is that they celebrated the first win of the season. The very first game of the season was it was the biggest win of the season.
That's a big win for them.
It is.
For them to beat San Fran, whether regardless if it's a home or away, for them to go in and beat San Fran. The biggest take I got from that game, which I thought was hilarious, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but I'd never seen this in a game, and I watch a lot of football, is the Bears were setting up for a field goal, and they got penalized because the placeholder brought out a towel to dry off an area for Cairo Santos.
Interesting.
Right in front of the refs. He literally brought a towel out with him, mopped it up like this, tried to get some of the water, and then threw the towel off to the side. Immediate flag, 15-yard penalty because it's in the rule books. I didn't know this. It's in the rule books.
I would have never known that.
That you cannot bring a towel out to the field to dry off a spot for a kicker if it's inclement weather.
I mean, when there's snow, they're all out there kicking snow. But
the snowplow, they bring out snowplow.
But
but if you try to dry it
that's
off,
foreign to the game because the towel's considered a foreign equipment.
I had never seen that in an NFL game before, and I saw it Sunday.
That's the biggest takeaway from that game, huh? That's how horrible that game was.
What if he did
19-10? Well, that
dog slide where the dogs put their butts on the carpet and slide. What if they do that? Grab each other's feet and slide each other.
They could do that.
Okay.
They could.
That would not be against.
Why do I want to see that? Why do I want to see that?
We're just looking for ways for this kicker to kick it in.
Well, we're looking for a take back from this game, and now here's the first thing: everybody was all in, all off season, was nothing but what?
Niners.
Trey Lance, Niners. Trey Lance is the next coming of Joe Montana or whatever anybody wanted to say.
And it was terrible weather though. It was shitty weather and. Usually Elijah Mitchell goes a game or two before he gets hurt. He gets hurt. He's out for 2 months.
Yep.
So there goes that already for him. They'll just bring the next guy up. They don't really care. But my boy Khalil Herbert tore it up yesterday.
He did.
I think he's the best running back in Chicago.
I mean, Montgomery stinks. I mean,
that's my point.
Terrible.
That is my point.
No, end of statement right there. Montgomery stinks. All these fans, but. I don't think it was all on Lance. Yeah, he didn't play well, but like you said, Jay, the weather was just...
It was bad, yeah.
I mean, you hate to evaluate him. I mean, all the armchair quarterbacks this morning in San Francisco and the Bay Area are probably losing their mind. Jimmy G. But let's give the guy, more than one game and a downpour and...
In Chicago too, that's like the storied franchise. Soldier Field's been there forever.
Yeah,
it's a tough place to go and win. Otherwise,
Mitchell gets hurt right away. I can't.
That rainstorm too. Let's be fair. That rainstorm was actually bringing into the media that was there. Mm-hmm. We're questioning if the NFL would actually allow a game to go with that much downpour that they had. The rain was you didn't when you turned the lights on and the TV broadcast came on. You're like, oh, it doesn't look bad.
Right.
It was pouring torrential downpour and it was nonstop for hours.
Yeah.
But what did we talk about in the offseason? That Soldier Field The grass there because
it's a dump.
It's a piece of shit stadium.
Yeah.
They need to get those guys a new stadium. If this doesn't show you that they need a new stadium, nothing will.
Well, and
because they absolutely need a new
stadium. You had their president of operations come out last week, and he was basically saying, "Look, our number one priority is buying this piece of land for us to put a new stadium.
Yeah.
Not rebuild here, not add on, none of that. We are going to buy a new piece of land and put a new stadium on." Yeah. So, 2026, 2027, we can expect to see the Bears playing.
You hate to take a franchise like Chicago. You'd hate to see them go way into the burbs and stay in the city, build it in the city. I hope they do that.
There's got to be a spot though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems like the suburbs is the move that they want to make,
and
I think that's kind of the game plan. But that's also where they have room to build.
Sure.
So when you got a city that's been built like that, you kind of got to have that type of a plan. That's what happened to Phoenix, right? Phoenix, they couldn't build downtown because it was all populated. Yeah. So what did they have to do? Build in Glendale,
right?
So staying on that, since we're talking about that, we'll talk about that Cowboys game and stuff. But we'll talk about Trey Lance's backup. Now, I brought this little tidbit for you guys. This is an article. Now, this article, we could spread this as truth to be now. This article actually came out last year during the playoffs when they were matched up.
Interesting.
And this was coming from Dallas sports reporters. So if you're in Dallas today, the entire media is speculating this. Now, we all know Dak got hurt. He's out, 6 to 8 weeks?
6 to 8 weeks.
So Dak's done for half the season. Mm-hmm. The backups in Dallas are not good.
There's only one. It's Cooper Rush, and they elevated him from the practice squad. Will Greer is still on the practice squad. It's not good.
Danucci isn't around anymore.
Danucci got cut in the first round of cuts. It was a fun season while it lasted. It was. I was expecting it to go a little bit longer, but it was a fun season. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it.
So the Cowboys season is officially over if they do not sign Jimmy Garoppolo this week.
Well, they can't sign him.
They got to trade. They got to get a trade or some way.
He has a no trade clause. So
but you're telling me he wouldn't give up the opportunity to go play for the Cowboys?
Why would he give up opportunity to go play for the Cowboys with the shit they have there?
Because it's the Cowboys.
But listen, if there's no offensive line, the receiving core has got CeeDee Lamb, and that's it.
It does not matter.
Their offensive line.
If you're a quarterback in the NFL, there's two franchises that you think about playing for, and the Cowboys are one of them. Why? Because when you're done playing for
the Cowboys,
God, I almost fell over my chair. But you know what comes with the Cowboys logo on your helmet.
Sure.
You get endorsements, you get radio, you get TV, you get everything after the fact of the NFL. And if he comes out and Jimmy G does sign there, he wins 6 of the next 8 games. Now you hold Dak off a little bit longer. If he keeps winning, guess what, Dak? You're going to be sitting on the sideline, and Jimmy G's going to be that team.
Well, Rip, you had a really interesting take before the show about this in regards to the backup situation.
Yeah, I just think, I mention it a lot when I'm talking with my old man or my buddies. We went into the whole Brissett situation in Cleveland. It's man, he's a capable backup. How do teams not prioritize that position? It's crazy. And some do, right? Some will the Browns have always overspent on backups. Case Keenum last year, Brissett this year. And Buffalo's done it. They did it with Trubisky. They did it with Keenum this year. And for Dallas, who is there, right? They have a good team. Why do you not prioritize that position?
Well, I recall, who was the backup in Kansas City? Remember when Mahomes
Chad Henne. He's still there.
Chad Henne.
And he won the playoff game against the Browns.
And he ended up winning a big game for them, right?
Yep.
That situation, that's something now, as a Chargers fan, we generally had good backups that were at least serviceable in the past. That's always been, so I've never really worried about that as a fan. Mm-hmm. But as you mentioned that, I started thinking across the league, across the board. And I was sitting here even in the situations of thinking, there's guys that are third string on some teams that whether it's them or the second stringer, I don't know there's any difference between the two,
nope.
right? So where does that situation become? Is this type of a situation because it's Dallas? Is this a situation where you see teams go, you know what, we're just going to start reaching for draft picks. We're just going to start and get back into that because now quarterbacks that are coming out of college are so much more prepared.
Yep, and there's a third, fourth. Third round pick you kind of want to hit on, but if you take like, hey, Mond, Book, those guys were, third, fourth, fifth round picks. Hey, develop these guys in-house, and then, hey, you have a backup for cheap that, you use some in very little draft capital on. I think you're going to start seeing more of that. And I mean, Sam Howell in Washington this year.
That's the guy I think of immediately.
Rivera says Minshew time in Dallas.
I mean, hey, I don't think Philly's no shot Philly gives him to Dallas.
Philly does not move him in division. There's no way.
There's no way. And not only that, they cut Carson Strong earlier in the offseason too. So Gardner Minshew is the guy. Yeah, and they signed Ian Book, who was inactive.
Cam Newton's interesting. You brought up. I didn't even think of that name, but
I also heard
Cooper Rush.
Yeah, I also heard Mason Rudolph floating around.
There's a good one. Yep,
there's
a good one.
him
That's a good one. He was good this
He's
preseason.
third in the depth chart, and he's not
fair.
happy about it. So get him out. Jimmy Garoppolo has a no trade clause, and the reason why I said something about that earlier is because he signed for less money to stay in San Fran because he liked that situation. Now, granted, Dallas would be immediate starting, but he may feel that Lance may not be the answer there, so he might be okay with sitting and waiting for Lance to fall on his face.
And that's true,
hoping that he gets to that spot again.
Especially after they just got lost to the Bears. Mm-hmm. So now he's probably sitting there, Jimmy G's sitting there thinking,
he's just sitting there waiting. He's like, I'll just wait.
Two more losses, and guess what? I'm in the mix again, and I'll be the guy.
Because
so you might be right.
Because San Fran's built to win right now.
I didn't think about
just
that.
like Dallas was supposedly built to win right now.
Now, here's the guy that I think is probably the most likely for the destination, and that's Drew Lock. And the reason I say that is because
he's terrible.
It doesn't matter. They're going to take him because he was a starter. They're going to get him, and if you're Seattle, all you're doing is compiling draft picks anyways. Yeah, so you might as well move that second guy up because you're going to go with Geno Smith. You're going to ride him till the wheels fall off. And if you have to go out and get a guy like a Cam Newton off the street or something like that to be your next up, you can afford to do that because you're not going to win anyways.
Yeah. I would rather have Andrew Luck come out of retirement than have Drew Lock.
If that happens.
I don't know what we haven't seen Cooper Rush play a whole lot.
What about Drew Brees?
Oh, holy cow, that would be insane.
I jokingly said this to a Cowboy fan last night. I said, what about Drew Brees? He said, I'd take Drew Brees in a heartbeat and I'd give him whatever he wanted. And I said, you know what he'd want?
Big Ben, get him off the streets.
Yeah.
Probably 500 pounds by now.
I mean, Ben's not going because once Brady unretired, he gave Ben his day.
Yeah.
And Ben's not going anywhere. Ben's done.
Yeah.
But no, Drew Brees would be interesting if you think about it because if he came in, what if Brees came in and said, Sean Payton comes with me?
Oh, wow. See you,
what about Phillip Rivers, too?
I mean, he's the guy I said
he's only
that's
been
in
out
shape.
a year for 1
year. Years, yeah.
Well, he's in shape. He's running a football team right now, and he's in shape.
No, that's his kids. He has 8 kids.
Yeah.
He's not running a football team.
I think Cooper Rush. Who do the Cowboys play next week? Who do you guys play next week?
Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
Well, they stunk this
week.
Two
dumpster fires.
Well, you know what?
Let's see what Cooper Rush looks like, and then... man, you hate to throw away 8 games. But look at the Browns are doing with Deshaun. Maybe they just say, hey, Cooper, hold the fort down. Pollard and Zeke get it 1,000 times a game, and don't make any mistakes.
I thought that's what we were going to do in the first place, and we didn't do it. So, Zeke averaged 4.5 yards a carry last night, and they gave him 9 carries. Yeah. I was like, what the hell? Why are we abandoning the run?
Yeah.
It was never a blowout until the very end of the game.
Correct.
Jake has another interesting. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Whoa! I like that one. I like Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic.
Oh, baby.
Would you be sad with him there?
He's very
serviceable.
There's just nobody to throw to.
It doesn't matter. He's not going to make mistakes.
He's good for 4-3, I think. I think he's good for 4-3.
The Dolphins were putting him in games ahead of Tua a couple of years ago.
They were.
Fitzpatrick's
a really interesting one.
Oh, baby.
I also did see there were some guys being signed or at least being brought in to be discussed, and one of those guys was James Morgan. He's been a little bit of everywhere, so we'll see
I'll take
what
Cooper
happens
Rush over him.
with them.
If they do not sign a quarterback this week, they will not have a chance at any part
honestly,
of the
if they don't, I would rather them lose the rest of the games from here on out to get a better draft pick. That's the way I look at it. If we're not going to be competitive,
have you looked at
and we're just going to go out there and be super mediocre,
they play Giants.
Scrap it all.
Well, let's mention that because I don't necessarily have a graphic for it, but let's talk about it. So where the Dallas has on their schedule is they do have the Giants coming up. And the Giants ended up winning a game that I think that a lot of the NFL thought was not realistic for them to win. In fact, I would bet if you polled executives, they would have said that the Giants wouldn't even have been in the game.
Tennessee screwed themselves because Tennessee took their foot off the gas.
Yes.
They did.
Tennessee got comfortable and they took their foot off the gas, and then all of a sudden Saquon just started running like crazy, and then they were like,
back, baby.
and then they were backpedaling like, oh shit, we better do something. It was too late. Saquon was running all over them. It wasn't even like the passing
They
game.
had the game plan that the Cowboys should have had.
Right.
Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball.
Wear them down.
Yes, do not throw the ball. Keep running the ball because you have no weapons. The Giants have 0 weapons on offense besides Saquon. You run to him every single play. He's that good, just like Zeke and Pollard are that good that they're going to get you 4-5. You'll march down, you'll kick a field goal. You'll march down, you'll kick a field goal. You get lucky, you score a touchdown. Guess what? At the end of the game, they're like, oh shit, we're right here. Our game plan worked.
Yeah, Tennessee gave that game away by letting off the gas.
So was the Tennessee meltdown more underwhelming to you, or was it more overwhelming the fact that the Giants pulled this off?
I just think that the Tennessee Titans game plan should have been what the Giants game plan was, and that is what you've seen every year from Derrick Henry. You get these 2 yards, 3 yards, and all of a sudden the fourth quarter comes, and now these guys don't want to tackle Derrick Henry because he's a huge man. So he just busts through the line, and that's when you get those 60-yard carries for Derrick Henry, and he ends up with 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. And they just didn't do that. They stopped doing it. They just stopped doing it, and Giants are like, we'll do it.
Is this more telling to Tennessee Titans and where they're not good, or is it better game planning from the Giants at this point?
No, the Giants are terrible. Don't get me wrong. They're a terrible football team. They probably will not win another game for a long while. However, now with Dak out, they might beat the Cowboys on Monday night. They got a chance.
They'll beat Dallas because Dallas can't stop the run. Like you look, Leonard Fournette looked like a Hall of Famer last night.
Man.
Saquon will run for 150 yards.
Saquon's healthy. Who's better than him?
Yeah,
Right.
they need it. Dallas needs to go back to taking what the Texas Longhorns do. My God, like they played great against Alabama. They ran the ball, and guess what? They have the best running back in the country. The guy eventually wore them down, and in the third and fourth quarter, guess what? Those runs were then going for 5 and 6 and 10 yards.
Right.
So, Giants are terrible. Tennessee is just as bad.
So I think this is more telling on the quarterback play when the game got tight. Tannehill couldn't make throws.
They don't have any weapons.
Tannehill did not make the throws,
They got rid of A.J. Brown.
he had a couple of spots where guys were pretty open, threw the ball behind him, didn't lead them to where they could actually move upfield. There was a lot of stuff that I saw from that. I went and looked at it only because there's been those rumblings, and again, this is from media in Tennessee, talking about how Malik Willis is starting to buzz the buzzer there.
Zero.
I agree with you,
He
but
was so bad in the Guys, he was the lowest rated rookie quarterback, and that is lower than Skylar Thompson in Miami, Desmond Ritter, Sam Howell, Bailey Zappi. Willis was terrible.
Why is he going to throw shots at me?
Who?
Desmond Ritter. That's my
I
guy.
like Ritter, but I'm saying
He's not.
Willis
But
has
I get what you're
zero.
saying.
He ain't starting. Willis
It's not ready.
No.
But
if they're 2
if they're-
and 14, he'll start again.
If this team doesn't win as kind of expected with the division,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
is that going to start a division in the locker room?
Because I didn't think I thought you said Tannehill was bad. I didn't think he was bad at all. They have zero
Late in the
weapons.
game, he didn't look like he could.
But they have nobody to throw. They got rid of A.J. Brown.
nobody.
They have Treylon Burks, and they have Robert Woods. And that's about it.
Their leading receiver is like a 5th-round pick.
Robert Woods has been on 9 teams.
Oh, was it Kyle Phillips?
Yes.
Kyle, and then also Dontrell Hilliard, the backup running back.
terrible.
Real quick, let's stay in that division and just real quick knock through it. Trevor Lawrence looked a lot different. I think we all thought that was going to be what we did. We put 275 yards. Had a pretty good day. He did get rushed around a little bit. He still didn't quite have the blocking. To me, it looked more like a team that probably they're young and they need to play 5 or 6 games together to get a little better.
They're all right.
I think by week 7 or 8, we're going to have an idea of like that team probably could be pretty good.
They're all right.
I know they didn't close the game out,
Yeah.
and that's a knock on the Colts for not getting that game won. But the Texans held their own. They looked okay. They didn't give up 28, which we thought they were going to give up 28 to 30 points a game. They kept it 20 and under, and if you do that in the NFL, you generally have a chance to win.
But did you watching that game? And I didn't watch it I
didn't watch every snap either. I watched
every snap.
a little
But
bit of
going
it.
into that, and they were ahead 20-6. I think.
Yeah,
23.
yeah.
At 20-6, and the time that was left, did you just not feel like they're gonna blow it? They're gonna blow it. Like you're looking at it like, okay, 2 scores. The Colts are going to score twice. And then all of a sudden it was Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. And it's like, Here we go. You knew it was going to happen.
Well, we
You
talked
knew
about the
that
running
Jackson
backs
would go.
there. We talked about the running backs and that there really wasn't an identity for a leader in the clubhouses. Who was the
Texans?
the guy that was gonna like be able to like do during that time? You got to shut a game down.
Yeah.
The guy's not sitting there.
Yeah, well, that's
Right?
why I wasn't super high on Dameon Pierce because I thought that he shot up too high. I was able to get him in one rookie draft in Dynasty, and right before the season started, I traded him. I got him like with a 203. I traded him for a first-round pick next year and a second in 2024. So that just goes to show you the price that this guy is. And I
People
was
were
like,
treating him like he was, LaDainian Tomlinson.
that's what I said, and I was like,
Does
this guy
anybody
is
think
just
a
guy.
rookie running back is going to come in like that? It's not often that Jonathan
That
Taylor
guy drafted
people
that
do,
late.
right?
People do
was a
think
late
that.
pick.
But there's no reason that. So I don't know. Just again, they weren't a team that should do that. I think they probably should have continued trying to throw the ball. I think they were having success with that, and they could have continued to do that. But
And Davis Mills was very good, too. Davis Mills was very, very good.
Well, and so that from a hobby standpoint, did that move the needle? I'm gonna ask Jimmy because Jimmy, for you, this is an interesting thought. Did Davis Mills yesterday move the needle on the ascent of the top 6 quarterbacks of the 21 class after you saw Fields and Trey Lance on the same field together? You saw T. Law have a pretty adversity game and still look good. Right? And Zach Wilson's obviously hurt. We don't know what we're going to get from him this year. And Mac Jones, I mean, a lot of people want to say his numbers looked okay. Again, his average yards per throw, like all that stuff was not.
Like Bob said a while back, Davis Mills was the highest rated quarterback out of all of them last year. Going into it, and he played the most out of all those guys. He had the most snaps, he had the most passes, the most completions. He had high in all the numbers, and everybody still looked at him last year as still the 5th or 6th best quarterback that was taken. Like, now you have to look at it. This guy's not going anywhere.
No.
They're not going to draft a quarterback next year. If he keeps playing the way he's playing right now, they're set. They will ride this horse until his rookie contract's over. Because how do you build a team in the NFL right now? Is you get a rookie quarterback on that contract where you can build around him and win. That's how you win.
I think that's what the game plan going into this year was. I think they already knew.
I thought the opposite. I thought they're like, hey, we're not going to be good. He's going to stink, we can go draft Stroud or Young. But boy, he was the best one out of those guys yesterday, and last year he was probably him and Mac Jones were.
He had 2 really big games last year, one against my Chargers
and the Patriots,
and he looked really good. So
and Mac Jones came out of the game.
Where does he move on the list now? Let's do a top 6. If you're doing the top 6, let's do the overreaction top 6 today. After week one,
in my opinion, the number 1 is always going to be Trevor Lawrence. I still think hands down he has more skills than everyone else. That's on in that rookie class. Then I think number 2 is probably Justin Fields after this last weekend. Number 3, Davis Mills. After that, Zach Wilson, even though he's not playing, I liked what he did last year more so than what everyone else did.
He didn't hurt himself in week 1.
He did not hurt himself like Trey Lance, because Trey Lance probably would have been up about 2 more notches until I saw what he did this weekend. He was absolutely terrible. And unfair to him, it was pouring rain. They didn't make any big play calls for him. They did a lot of runs to Debo and short passes. However, he didn't look the part. And then you got to put in who am I missing out of the?
No, you had it. Trevor
you
Lawrence,
had it.
Is that
Trey Lance, Fields, Davis Mills, Mac Jones, and Zach Wilson.
Okay. And then I think there's one more that played though.
They played yesterday?
Yeah.
No. Book, Mond.
Bookman, Trask are all sitting on a bench. So I'm with you, and here's where I want to take it. And this is a little bit of a jump into the plus minus portion of the program, but very simply, I've been shouting from the mountaintop that Davis Mills was an investment. I've been telling everybody that Davis Mills is an investment. I saw everybody going nuts over Trey Lance, and I kept telling everybody that Davis Mills was an investment. Buy Davis Mills. This is your last chance. This is literally your last chance to buy him because he is going to jump eventually, I believe, Mac Jones. I believe he is going to jump Fields. And I know that you like Fields better than Mills, but I think that also has to do maybe a little bit situationally of he's a mobile quarterback. I honestly think that when it comes down to it, I think that if I plugged Davis Mills in an offense and anywhere in the league, he's someone that could play, and it could be Ohio State. Absolutely.
I do. I'm a little Ohio State homer.
But I'm just telling you that I think that there's a chance. So while you have all of these Trey Lance numbers up, Zach Wilson kind of tickled down, so people are kind of grabbing Zach Wilson now because, what's going to happen with him? We already knew T-Law was going to start to jump, and I guarantee you in the next 3 weeks, T-Law is going to start jumping the numbers of the Patriots are no longer going to be the number one team in 21 breaks. It is going to be the Jaguars.
It's going to be back to where it started. Jaguars were always
right.
number one, then number two were the Bears, and number three were the Niners. Yeah. And then when we first opened 2021 product, that's what it was. And then Mac Jones was 4. All of a sudden, he had a great first 8 games, and it switched, and Mac Jones was number 1, and then everybody looked around.
Well, and the Patriots fans
all over
went
Houston
nuts.
when they get Houston. Yeah. People are like bummed when they get Houston in a break, and it's like, why are you bummed? Like you have
and
good.
Now I don't think so. I don't think that that's a thing. I think that it is. So definitely take a look at that. Now we'll talk.
He goes. I'm looking at the schedule. He goes head to head with Fields and Lawrence in week 3 and week 5. It looks like.
Oh, that's
awesome.
good.
Must
like
watch
that.
TV right there because I think that's give a chance. Hey, and that's for Fields.
At Chicago.
If Fields goes and he beats Trey Lance when he wasn't supposed to, and then beats Davis Mills, and then I guarantee that they probably have the Jaguars on their schedule too, and then beats Trevor Lawrence, Fields might look more and more the part, and who knows?
I just liked what he did with his legs, not so much with his arm. I think he put himself in a good situation.
No, he did the lamb jack scenario where he put on the ground what he needed to put on the ground when it was needed and wasn't afraid to go get it.
Yeah, he was all right.
So we talked about it a little bit, but now we'll talk about it now, and that is going to be the Steelers game.
The Browns.
God,
this is not. We will definitely talk about that. The Steelers game. This absolute headache for Jimmy. Now, first off,
my ticket.
Guys, I want to make one observation. I said of this. I know everybody still wants to go Jamar Chase as like one of the top receivers in the league, and I don't knock you for it. But T. Higgins, which I went and said would be the Super Bowl MVP last year and would have had they won that game, T. Higgins is really good because every time that they needed something, T. Higgins pulled it off. It wasn't anybody else. With that said, though,
I think he got hurt in the first quarter.
Burrow did not have...
Higgins got hurt in the first quarter.
Higgins got hurt in the first quarter. You must be thinking about somebody different because Higgins got hurt in the first quarter. He got a concussion.
Did he?
He was ruled out for the rest of the game.
Then who?
Tyler
Boyd. Boyd was the one that was
good.
I'm sorry, it's Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd. So Tyler Boyd was going off, and he was about the only guy. Jamar Chase, again, like he was flashy and fun, but
let me show you. Can you see that ticket?
Show him that ticket.
How disgusting!
Who we put that on? The kicker, the holder.
It's
How
gotta be the holder.
disgusting
It's the holder.
is that?
It's not the kicker,
That all I need
I
him
get
to
it.
do.
And you're mad at McPherson,
But you were
Shooter
cursing.
McGavin.
Yeah, you were cursing
I did the
McPherson, but
jinx.
it's not his.
I know.
It wasn't his fault.
But outside of that, on the offense,
Burrow stinks. He fell back down to earth.
Mixon was great, as we expected.
Yeah, they were a heavy favorite, man. You took.
Look at him; he's pouting right now.
Pittsburgh's horrible.
But let's talk about
It's a good bet. He made a good bet.
Joe Burrow and his day that he had.
5 turnovers. Welcome to earth, Joe.
Super Bowl hangover.
And it wasn't like Joe Burrow didn't have time for some of the throws. It wasn't
All of his interceptions under zero pressure.
Yeah.
0. I saw it on NFL Live right when I was walking out the door. 4 picks under 0. It was under no pressure, no blitz,
this has nothing to do with
nothing.
Cleveland, does it?
No, everyone overreacted when they made the Super Bowl.
Like, it was-
Burrow stinks.
I watched every bit of that game because it was the only game that was on my TV for some reason. I guess I got unlucky. So I watched the whole game, and the interceptions that he threw were the worst throws.
Terrible.
Like, not even like usually if there's an interception, maybe it was a batter out. It was like a tip ball. He was 0 chance. Like looking straight down the field, right at the safety, and throws it right to him. And it's like, what the hell? And a pick 6 right at the beginning of the game was like he didn't even look to the center of the field to hold the safety at all. He just looks right to the route, throws it, and the safety's like, oh, thank you. Right in. It's like, oh.
And I'm not saying Burrow's bad, okay, but he's not Justin Herbert.
You did just say
He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. He is a middle-tier quarterback, okay?
Most lists had him number 6 in the league before the season started.
Watch that game and tell me he's number 6. He's a middle-of-the-road quarterback on a team that overachieved more than any team in NFL history last year. And they got exposed to a horrible Steelers team yesterday. That Steelers defense, TJ Watt's out, but the Steelers are terrible. They stink. That's why they were minus, 300?
Mitch Trubisky.
The Steelers
Mitch
stink.
Trubisky beat them.
That should have been a blowout.
He did not look good, and he beat them.
The Bengals are back to the Bungles. They overachieved. Burrow is a middle-tier quarterback. I can list 12 quarterbacks better than Joe Burrow. And it showed yesterday. 0 pressure, 4 interceptions.
This shows you how bad the Steelers are. So they're going to play against the Patriots next week.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be the lowest total on the whole schedule the whole NFL year. It's 38 right now.
Oh, my God. What's
38
the number?
with like 38 points in an NFL game should be like that's high school stuff. You scored 38 in high school. Like, it's crazy. It's the lowest. That means Mac Jones and the Steelers are garbage.
Yep.
Write them off. They both suck.
They're favored by 1. It's Patriots.
With the Steelers, we talked about this before. You had Desmond Ridder. You had Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Is Kenny Pickett still going to see the field if they win a few games, or is Kenny Pickett going to sit for the season if they win a few games?
He's not coming in anytime soon because they're going to beat the Patriots this week too. Because the Patriots are bad.
I thought
They're gonna be 2-0.
I thought you were going to text me right away when I saw it come across my Sleeper app notification, and I was like, "Great! Here comes a text message," and you never text me. But
I was waiting for today. I wanted to.
Tomlin came out and said that his plan is not to play Kenny Pickett this year. That's his plan.
I don't blame him.
Well, but it doesn't mean that Trubisky doesn't get hurt or whatever. But his plan going forward is if Trubisky stays healthy, Pickett's not going to see the field.
You want to just give me 10 now instead of the whole 20?
No, we're not doing insurance.
Steelers could be 3-0.
No. He's saying give him 10 now.
No, this isn't Pie Guy.
I will tell you this. Mike Tomlin was great on TikTok. Minkah Fitzpatrick and the defense was doing a TikTok in the clubhouse after, and Mike Tomlin came in and was part of it, which kind of rivaled that celebration of the
He's
Bears.
for the people. Mike Tomlin's always been a player's coach.
Brian Jabel was dancing after the game too.
I do want to say that Minkah Fitzpatrick was a beast yesterday.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
He's
TJ
a
Watt
very
was
good player.
unblockable, but now he's out for the year. Steelers are in trouble.
He's getting his
Najee's out.
Second opinion. No, Najee. The test came back okay with Najee.
He's still going to play next week.
Did they already rule him out?
I thought
he's 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I heard too that he's out for quite some time.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because I think Najee Harris was really the thing that, like, if there was a glimpse of any type of hope for that offense, I think it was coming from that. And George Pickens didn't get targeted much.
No.
And I think people thought the Pickens would get targeted a little bit more. Just tells you that team's going to work him into the offense too. I don't think that.
Just really fast, Adam Schefter said about an hour ago the test today on Najee Harris's foot injury came back negative, and there was a belief that, according to a source, he should be good to go Sunday versus the Patriots.
I see it too. I'd be stunned if he plays.
Didn't he start the season with a foot injury?
Yep, same injury.
Just the way he came off and took his shoe off and threw it like a million miles an hour. He was so mad. He took the shoe and threw it. Like, I thought for sure he was
They
done.
need him because if
it's the same Liz Frank injury, and so Dr. Jesse Morse, MD, because I follow a lot of doctors on fantasy football stuff. Harris re-injured the same Liz Frank injury from preseason, and they would be silly to allow him to play over the next couple of weeks if they expect him to last all season.
So they play the Patriots, who are terrible, and then you got to play the Browns in Week 3, who stink without Watson. So I mean, I wouldn't rush him back.
They could be 3-0.
They could be, absolutely,
because they played 3.
Is that Browns game at home or on the road?
It's in.
Because if they're at home, then I would think that that's a winnable game.
Yep.
With that said, Browns.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and let you talk.
I watched every snap of that game. Of course, I had the red zone on my
you
laptop.
have no life if you're watching that game.
Carolina, Cleveland, you watch every second of that game.
I actually watch my teams.
Well, first off, hold on. Let's preface this. Not only is he a Browns fan, he's also the West Coast's biggest Baker Mayfield collector as well.
Well, Baker was terrible in the first half. So Baker had 2 big plays, and they were both blown coverage plays. So wide open Ian Thomas here for 50 yards, and a wide open Robbie Anderson for 70 and a touchdown. So 120 of Baker's 160 yards came on 2 plays. Baker stunk, but again, when you're going up against the best defense in the NFL, and Myles Garrett's in your lap every snap, or Jadeveon Clowney's in your lap every snap.
You're not going to walk out on this, but you walked out on the other stuff?
Okay, the Bills might have a better defense than the Browns. Okay, I'll say the Bills are a better defense than the Browns. Okay, Browns are into the second best defense in the NFL. Okay, there you go. Now
I'll just leave that right there for
that. I can't say
Listen, I do think.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the Chargers have a pretty good defense.
Yeah, the Chargers are very good.
The Browns have the best running back tandem in the entire
100%.
NFL.
You have Chubb and Hunt.
Easily the best.
Brissett is terrible, but he didn't make any mistakes yesterday.
That's all he needs to do is not make mistakes.
Right. Amari Cooper and Peoples-Jones made incredible grabs to save Jacoby. But like Jay said, don't make mistakes. Browns can win games with that defense and with that running back duo. Baker was terrible. I don't know what the Panthers' game plan was. McCaffrey had 3 touches in the first half. I don't know what they were doing at all.
They shut him down for the game, too. He had like 10 carries for 33 yards or something like that. And a touchdown. A touchdown is the only thing that saved his day for fantasy-wise, because this is your first-round pick in redraft. This is your number 1 guy. You play Christian McCaffrey.
He came in when they were on the 2-yard line, too.
Yeah.
He wasn't even in the game the whole time until they got down there. In the 2-yard line, they let McCaffrey go in and score.
Maybe McCarthy was the one that had the game plan for the Panthers.
But
Mike McCarthy.
Anyways, Baker needs to bounce back because he was terrible. Like Steve said, I thought after his preseason, I thought he'd be fired up and ready to go against the Browns. He was terrible. I was wrong.
He didn't look that way, did he?
Oh, he was bad. Everything. He had like 5 tip balls. He was sacked a ton of times. He was missing guys. He got booed going into the half.
So what I saw at the kind of like leading into the season was the fact that their offensive line is one of the shortest offensive lines in the league.
Well, they used the number 6 pick on an offensive lineman. Welcome to the NFL. You had Myles Garrett in your face the entire day. He couldn't block Myles. Nobody can block Myles Garrett. He's the best D-end in the league. But yeah, their offensive line is rough.
Did he just say
who's better than Myles Garrett? T.J. Watt. Okay, T.J. Watt is playing.
T.J. Watt?
No, Max Crosby is better than Myles Garrett.
Whoa.
Oh my God! I'm about to walk out of here. Oh my God!
It's pretty
good.
good.
Nick and the Bosa brothers, either one of them.
Oh, they're very good. Bosa's are very good. Khalil Mack is very good. T.J. Watt is very good. T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett are the only 2.
You don't think Micah Parsons is the best defensive end?
Micah Parsons.
Did you see what he did last night?
Micah Parsons can bounces up and down, up and down. Myles Garrett is hand in the dirt.
And don't get me wrong, I like Myles Garrett a lot, so I don't want to take that away from you. I like Myles Garrett. I think it's pretty. I don't know. I think it's a lot closer than you're making it sound.
No,
it's not him and everyone else.
I'm not an offensive lineman. You saw that this year in the offseason they pulled every offensive lineman in the NFL. Who's the hardest player to block? Myles Garrett was number 1. T.J. Watt was number 2. I'll pull up the article. You can put it on your little screen here.
I'd love to see it. I'll
send it to you right now.
I want to see it. All right.
Continue.
Talking about some of the other situations and games, we want to talk about the NFC South a little bit. This is where I have to go and say, okay, I made the statement about the Saints defense, and apparently the Saints defense decided to get me a text during the first quarter of the game, at the end of the first quarter.
There's a group chat.
In the group chat, Jimmy to remind us that the Saints didn't have the best defense. The Saints were garbage. The Saints were nothing because they were losing to the Falcons. J-Up said it best yesterday. I don't think he'd be said any other way except for he's heard of Monday morning quarterback, but not Sunday second quarter quarterback. Well done by you. Well done.
So,
thank you for the win.
I had my parlay in, and I said that Jay would love this jinx if I throw it out there and they come back to win. It's, J-Up jinx is what I always was thinking.
There is an up jinx.
There's an up jinx that if something's happening, you just say the opposite of what you want to happen. And he does it to me all the time. He's like, "Oh, the Giants won today."
I don't just do it to you. I do it across all leagues. Like I'm literally on my phone congratulating guys in the
Congrats
first quarter
on the win.
On
Way to
FanDuel.
go.
I'm like, well, I guess I'm out. Congratulations, and I'll say it to whoever's a leader. And we'll end up passing the leader up at some point. So it is a real thing.
So I knew that was going to happen. So I actually did it. And so Jay actually he went and took over one of my teams because I wasn't able to make it. He went and drafted it. So, of course, he starts Cam Akers on our team, Cam Akers gets us a big goose egg Thursday night. So, of course, I have to, thanks a lot. Good job, Coach. Way to keep in Cam Akers.
I'll rebuttal on this.
You're the fantasy expert. Way to go. And sure enough, what did we do? We just came back to win the game. So I gotta say, I am sorry.
So we'll reboot that. Let me
rebuttal this really
rebuttal
fast.
during fantasy because I wanted to bring this up.
Okay.
Well, I'll rebuttal during fantasy.
Because I think that it's a fair topic for the fantasy.
I will not
version.
forget.
Jacob Rivera says the Saints are still garbage. We will see. You know what? Jameis Winston comes off of a pretty bad injury and had a decent day. I don't think he was perfect by any means, but definitely had a decent day with the offense. Hit some wide open receivers, and I think those receivers are really a difference maker, as we talked about before.
He was having a very mediocre first half, and then he got a lot of stuff in garbage time, and the Saints just couldn't stop them in the garbage time. Michael Thomas's 2 touchdowns were in garbage time. Jarvis Landry's are piling on the catches, which is what he was brought there for.
But
right?
I think
He's
you
not
also-
It was
getting
garbage
touchdowns.
time. It was a 1-point win.
Yeah, it was
No,
a 1
no.
point win.
In garbage time.
Because they were up by 2 scores late.
Yeah.
Atlanta was up by 2 scores late. So just like you've seen before, like Atlanta starts kind of
They're still
coasting.
trying to win the game.
They're still trying to win the
They're
game.
41-3, and they're.
But why did
catching
it take?
balls.
Why did it take almost 3.5 quarters for
Because the
Jameis
Saints
Winston?
stink.
I do
Because he
want.
stinks.
I do want to say that the thing with Jameis Winston, he did not play much of the preseason, like a lot of quarterbacks. But he also didn't get a lot of reps because he was still getting cleared to be able to actually get in the driver's seat with the first team and play. So his first few weeks of the season for Jameis Winston is going to be getting his feet underneath him. Next week's not going to be very good.
I'm going to
either.
let you guys right now, both of you two,
get out of it?
You guys are the experts.
I didn't
And
say I'm an expert.
You're the toy expert,
Right.
and he's a fantasy expert. So I'm going to give the 2 experts a chance right here, live on TV, to step down before I have to walk out again.
Let me ask
Is
you
it
this
true?
question.
We're right up
You have
there.
one chance to get off of them.
We're
Do
up
you
the
want
door.
off the Saints right now, Jay?
My bets?
No, not the bets. Those are locked.
The Saints.
But do you want off of them for your Super Bowl pick?
And your 15 wins.
For my Super Bowl pick, yes, I'll get off of my Super Bowl pick.
Thank you.
I will absolutely back down off of it too. I said that I would.
We could
said
stay.
I would.
We could stay today.
And my bet wasn't 15 games; it was 13.
Yours was
Still.
13. I love that he's got notes on it. It's
They
fantastic.
still can win. You have to keep notes. You got to keep receipts.
You do have
Still
to.
13.
You do have to keep the receipts.
Unbelievable.
I will tell you this. That leads me into. There's a
apology?
lot of people that are a lot sharper at this and spend a lot more time watching film and all this stuff. I mean, I try to watch some stuff to have, from the investment standpoint, I try to watch certain guys, certain things. I know that like every year you want to discount Tom Brady, you want to discount what he can do. The guy's a freaking machine. And as much as I thought that team would not bounce back with a lot of the losses and stuff that they had, I almost feel like they looked better on the offensive line and even defensively.
They lost another offensive lineman, though.
I know, but it must be coaching that's allowing them because
Yeah.
they've got guys in there that aren't starters on other teams.
No, it's a veteran quarterback knowing he has to get the ball out quick.
Right.
If you look at every single drop back and every throw that Tom Brady made last night, everything's coming out of his hands so fast because he can make those reads. He can make the protection adjustments.
Yeah.
So he has that split second more time. He got sacked, 3 times by Michael
Twice.
Parsons?
Yeah,
Twice
twice.
by Parsons. Other than that, I don't think he ever went down on the ground. The guy was upright, getting the ball out quick. He's hands down the GOAT. That's why he's the best.
And that was the number one comment from the telecast of the Rams and Bills was how fast Josh Allen was getting rid of the ball. And then you look at this Brady game and you see those similarities. Not the same player, I get it, but as far as conducting your offense, the same things on both those teams. So yes, I'll back off, and I would be dumb to not say that they're going to represent the NFC. Like
They should,
I would be
right.
dumb to not say that at this point, not even knowing what moves they might make or things that they might do. And yeah, I understand that it was against the Cowboys,
but
that
Cowboys
running game,
defense is
That
no
was good
joke.
defense.
that
They have
running
very
game,
good defense.
that running game took over that Cowboys D line, and I know that Micah Parsons was there. They did the right things to him that they needed to do to win the game, and that running game ran all over them for 3 quarters.
Yeah, the Cowboys have never stopped the run, though. I said it last year. They have the same exact guys on the defensive line. They don't stop the run. They don't have any run stoppers. They don't. They don't have any run stoppers. I didn't want to match up with San Fran last year because I knew that's what San Fran wants
you
to do.
did
is run
say
the ball.
that.
And I
In
said,
fairness, he did
that's
say
the
that.
worst matchup we could possibly have because all they want to do is run,
Yep.
and we can't stop the run.
Right.
So all these teams, there's the blueprint. Like there's no secret.
Yeah.
You just run the ball against the Cowboys. You're gonna win. You're gonna win. The Cowboys surprised me last night by stopping them in the red zone so many times and like really clamping down. That was a surprise that they actually did that. But like, let's face it, they were chewing up the field every time you saw Tampa Bay with the ball. They were
what was it,
chewing up the
9-0?
field.
They did 3 field goals to start the.
No, because Dallas scored first, so it was 3-0, and then it was 9-3, and then I think right before halftime, I kicked a field goal, maybe 12-3, and then they missed one field goal too. Ryan Suckup did, but I'm just saying they chewed up the middle of the field until they got down to the red zone, and the Cowboys clamped down. But the recipe to beat the Cowboys, I mean, look at Fournette last night. I mean, he looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
The guy's 32 years old. How is
he's
he
like LSU?
He's not 30.
He didn't just look ridiculous, but I'm going to also tell you it's because I made the statement that I needed him to make 2 fumbles because your brother had him in another fantasy league we're in, and he was the last player to go, and I was up by like 4 points. And all he had left was Fournette. And I'm like, I just need 2 fumbles from Fournette. That's all I need. And then he just runs all over. And I look in like the second quarter. I'm like, well, game's over. That's it. I'm done.
Over.
2 fumbles isn't going to ruin what he's done to this point.
Well, we can't crown the Bucs yet. I still think the Packers, they were terrible. But I wouldn't discount them yet. You can't throw.
Are you relaxing?
Yeah, you can't throw. I mean, like we talked about yesterday during the game. They get blown out in the first game every year. Everyone goes nuts. I still think they're fine.
I made a statement today. You know what I think? Aaron Rodgers hates his wide receivers. Like hates them.
Well,
like actually hates them and does not want to be in the same place.
If Watson catches that ball, I mean, it's a totally different game. So I wouldn't be too worried about the Packers right now. But
I think they'll be able to fix it too. I think their coach is good enough to fix things.
They lost 38-3 to Saints week 1 last year. Look what happened.
Yeah, I know. And that was a close game against Minnesota. But Minnesota, I think, is a real deal. I think we talked about Minnesota making the playoffs this year, too, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
so.
and I wanted to talk about them.
Yeah.
So 2 other NFC teams I wanted to talk about was the Vikings. That's a really good one. Let's talk about the Vikings. Justin Jefferson went off yesterday. And I have to sit here I was kind of pissed about it because I knocked Kirk Cousins for stealing from the NFL for so long. And then the guy looked incredible yesterday.
He's fine.
He looked incredible on a big stage, which was weird because normally he doesn't do well on the big stage games, and he was on a big stage yesterday and looked incredible.
Cousins is fine,
Yeah, I think the Cousins fine. Is it Kevin O'Connell? It's Kevin O'Connell's offense, and they basically came out and said we're going to be you've known us as a running offense, and we're not going to be a running offense anymore. We're going to be a passing offense. Even Justin Jefferson came out and said it. So the fact that they went over there and just went nuts with Justin Jefferson, not surprising whatsoever.
Jefferson being wide open on multiple plays isn't that the Packers have bad corners. They have very good corners. It's Kevin O'Connell and that play calling.
Yeah.
These play designs, I mean, to get guys open, I mean, it was incredible.
Well, and Thielen is not a distant fall off from Justin Jefferson.
Good.
So if Jefferson's not open, Thielen's
And I like KJ Osborne quite a bit. That's the third guy. I was surprised they didn't throw Irv Smith very much. I know he was coming off injury, but I was surprised they didn't use him more. But the one thing that surprised me about that game was Jair Alexander, who's basically Green Bay's shutdown.
The highest paid corner in the league,
and he's been a shutdown guy for the last couple of years. And he actually alluded. He said that the game plan was for him to shadow Jefferson, and then at the last minute it kind of changed, and he didn't shadow him.
I don't like that, and I'm glad you brought that up because I don't like. I mean, back in the day, the best corners followed around all over the field.
Yep.
Whether in the slot, X, Y.
Deion Sanders.
Yep.
Deion Sanders, you're on the best receiver. It just doesn't happen anymore. Right, it doesn't.
Come
to my side. Throw to my side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and unless you're too deep at that defensive back position to be able to pull it off.
That's the only Cleveland Browns.
And that's
the Browns have 2 very good cornerbacks. Yes.
I mean,
Greg Jefferson and Denzel Ward is the second highest paid cornerback in the NFL.
The 2 best corners in the league.
They have 2 very good corners. Yes.
I like the tandem and. All right. Anyways,
where?
L.A.
J.C. Jackson hasn't played a snap.
No, but I know he's
He's
hurt.
very good too. J.C. Jackson
he's coming
very
in.
Good.
Do the Chargers play the Browns this year? Because of that, I think we should get together.
God, I hope in the playoffs. I hope in the playoffs that happens. I hope
Wow.
Deshaun Watson's there. I hope the whole thing comes together for him, and I hope we can have a brown and blue party.
I don't know what that's going to prove. I just said the Browns aren't very good. They have a very good.
You did say that. That's fair. No, they do have a good.
But when
defense.
Watson comes
We're
back,
just giving you a hard time.
we know that will change.
If Watson comes back, though.
I mean,
nobody's better. Nobody's better when Watson's back.
No, I love it. I do love that he
I am nervous to see what he's going to do with that offense. With that running game.
Yeah. Now here's the other side of it is in the last NFC thing I want to touch on was the Eagles. None of us came in and talked about the Eagles first thing today. No one kind of mentioned that. Jalen Hurts had a very nice day. The team looked decent, and A.J.
Defense
Brown
didn't look decent.
A.J. Brown,
35 points to the Lions.
Well,
Holy moly.
A.J. Brown looked incredible.
Very good.
And I would say that, like,
Devontae Smith, 0.
yeah, he had no, like, what do you have, one
0.04.
target? He had four targets. I saw when there was only one, just because I do have him on fantasy, and I was like, but A.J. Brown went off. It's this team. I think that the statement here is probably this is a underwhelming situation where I'm overwhelmed by the fact that, like, they won and played well. However, did I think they should have played better? I think as a team they probably should have. Do they get better from here? Are they who are they the best in the East? Because Dallas now, we all agree Dallas is falling off.
Here's the thing with the Eagles. I said it before. I picked the Eagles to win that division. I stand by that. Even now, even more so.
Even more so, right?
So the Eagles, what's going to happen with them, unfortunately, is that they're going to get kind of complacent. Because let's face it, they're going to run through that division. They're probably going to go 6-0 if you look at it, right? Their offense is good. Their offense did what we thought they were going to do. They ran the ball well. Jalen Hurts keyed on A.J. Brown quite a bit, right? But their defense is not what we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be a lot better.
Yeah. 100%.
So I think that's what's going to happen is that they're going to get so overconfident with beating the crap out of the Giants, the Commanders, and the Cowboys that when they do face a pretty good defense, it's going to be touch and go.
Like the Saints, right?
Does that defense get
the
better?
Saints offense.
Oh.
Does that defense get better from here, or is that what we're going to expect to be?
If you're giving up 30-plus points to the Detroit Lions.
But I'm saying, is that what we're expected to believe? Because Detroit, I think we all expected the Detroit offense was definitely going to be up from last year.
I sure didn't.
No.
Well, I thought Detroit's going to be scrappy.
Yeah.
They're going to be scrappy. They're going to be in games because they're going to be like their coach. Their coach really, played on 7 different teams in the NFL. He was around. He worked hard. He was the hardest worker in the room. That's going to be the Detroit Lions. They're going to be close in every game because they're going to be like their coach. Work hard, never give up. They should have never been in that game. They were blown out from the beginning. They fought back to make it look like it was a close game. It was never even close. The Eagles never had a shot to lose that game.
Didn't they play last year and Eagles just completely obliterated them like 44-6?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was like 44-6. The Eagles just absolutely smashed them, and so Detroit.
What was their win total? The over/under win total for the Lions? 4?
I think 4 for the year. Yeah.
That low, really?
It has to be something like that. 4 or 5. They're terrible. They're not. They have no defense.
No, they're
Jared
going to
Goff.
They're going to
your best
shootout
receivers, DJ Shark. Amon-Ra, whatever. They're terrible. They're a bad team. And
T.J. Hawkins and DeAndre.
Hawkinson's okay. Offense. Yeah, Swift's okay. But Swift and Williams looked like Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson out there.
I like Jamal Williams. I like the fire in that game. He's pretty good.
But I don't know how that game was close. But
I think we all expect Detroit to not be winning anything this year. The Eagles, I think, we've got that situation where where we look at that situation, we say, well, where is it in 6 weeks? Where is it in 8 weeks? And I think that defense is going to be the biggest thing. Is that defense going to play better as a unit?
They have time to fix it.
Were they kind of apart enough to where they need time to gel? Or is this one of those situations where they gelled, really screwed up, and could this mess up chemistry? I don't know. I don't know enough about that defensive setup on that team to be able to tell you if that's the case or not.
Fletcher Cox is like 50 years old. Brandon Graham's 50 years old.
By the way, Fletcher Cox, C-Wright's favorite player. Anytime his name gets mentioned, I have to say
they traded for
corners pretty good. They got Bradbury.
They traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, from the Saints, who's good.
Darius
Slay is very good. They're just old.
Slay's older though.
Yeah, they're a very old defense, and like Jimmy sleeping on his Giants. I don't know. I think the Giants. I thought. If Saquon Barkley can get it going, and you can give Danny Dimes a little bit, where the defense isn't stacking 8 in the box to stop to stop Saquon, and Danny Dem's going to let it fly a little bit.
If Danny's got to chuck it up 50 times a game, then no, they don't.
Sure, of course. But
he didn't have to chuck it up 50 times a game,
Right.
and you saw what he could do.
No, they wouldn't even throw it at Kadarius Toney.
No,
he was in there for run plays.
They won't even throw it.
Well,
They don't
Sterling
have no
Shepard's
Aren't they mad at him though?
So
Aren't
he
they
must have
still
done
mad at
something.
him?
They're mad at him. They're mad at each other, and then not that like Sterling
Yeah.
Shepard, like he annually he's on my
Galladay, right?
He annually gets hurt.
Right.
Kenny Galladay is the worst trade that the Giants have ever made.
Yeah. But I think that with the Cowboys not looking good, the Eagles not looking good, the Commanders looked okay, and the Giants looked
Oh,
okay.
the Eagles fans are putting Carson Wentz in the Hall of Fame after yesterday. Are you kidding me? They love Carson Wentz.
He was okay. He wasn't bad. I mean, he threw 2 bad picks. We have 4 touchdowns.
Four
right?
touchdowns, yeah.
He was okay. I mean,
And he
was
spread
all right.
the ball around. To everybody.
Well, and he's
I think
got.
the Giants will
We
be
talked
all right.
about
I
the
think
situation he was
division.
going into. Remember, we talked about there was a lot of really young skill position players
Mm-hmm.
that have really big upside. They're all guys that had a little bit of gamble in the picks on them, but huge upside, and some of those paid off. I mean, you saw that yesterday. With
Yeah,
some couple of
Dotson
those
was
guys.
all. Curtis Samuel was very good in Carolina. He was hurt all last year in Washington, and he was
Yeah.
their main focal point yesterday. And
That's
he's a
what the
very, very
Cowboys
good
should go
player.
get is Taylor Heineke.
Yeah,
There's a good one.
Heineke
That's a
would
good
be
one.
interesting.
Howell moving to
That's
the
a good
backup
one.
spot.
But
behind
again,
Wentz.
it's in division, so they're not going to move him.
Yeah.
Again,
I don't
it's
think
in
there's
division.
anyone jumping to help the Cowboys.
Nobody is
Not in division.
Nobody in the NFC is jumping to help
Right,
the Cowboys
right, yep.
because they're thinking, "Oh, yes,
Yeah,
finally,
right.
we don't have to deal with this team
Yep.
for the whole year.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Let's leave them right in the gutter."
Absolutely.
Yeah, nobody in
and
the
I think
NFC is
I think
gonna
that's
help
the thing. Now, I want to mention that I brought this up before. This was on the Chargers' official social media. They put up D's nuts. I will tell you though, Chargers Chargers took a ton of shots yesterday at the Raiders through social media, more than I've ever seen. I don't know if that was just to try to really rile it up.
No, it was because
Or
last
because
year
of that last game,
Yes,
right?
they felt that the Raiders should have bound down to them, let them make the playoffs.
Let 'em
they
tie.
Let them tie, make the playoffs, and they didn't. So
No.
they're all bitter.
Mm-hmm.
They all want to scream from the rooftops now that they won the first game of the year. The Raiders looked like crap the first half.
Mm-hmm.
If the Raiders came out like they did the second half, the first half, they would have beat them.
So I think Darren Waller needs definitely to be more involved.
Yeah.
The way that they utilized him, now he was also a game time decision, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He had a little bit of injuries. So again, Josh Jacobs, decent, kind of did the Josh Jacobs thing when he's healthy. We'll see if he's healthy in 5 weeks. But right now he's healthy. I think that was a lot closer than. That was a lot closer of a game than it ultimately turned out to be.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. A lot of people are calling for Carr and all this stuff on the interceptions and all these things. I'm a Chargers fan, right? Season ticket holder for the Raiders. But so I have an idea of what's going on with both teams. And with the Raiders, I felt like they were a little out of rhythm on offense. And they definitely were not well planned for what that defensive pressure was going to be.
You have a Raiders hat on today.
I know. I do have a Raiders hat on today. That's because I couldn't find my Chargers hat going out the door.
He's mourning. It's an all black.
It was.
same
Well,
hat
actually,
yours.
it just happens to be that it's a home game week. But so, by the way, the Raiders welcome in
Arizona.
your favorite team,
Who?
the Cardinals.
So
So,
it would be a good opportunity
They
for
should
Derek
beat them.
Carr. Yes,
To get
for Derek
back.
Carr to get back on
Yeah,
the
to
high.
get
5 touchdowns
Raiders
from Derek
defense.
Carr, and do you think they would be? Think they'll be back if he puts up Mahomes' game?
You should against the
You know,
Cardinals.
we'll see what
The
happens.
Raiders' defense was not good. They couldn't get. Let me see. I don't think they sacked Herbert once.
I don't think.
once, I think.
I don't.
Zero.
I don't
Zero
think
sacks.
Herbert. I don't think Herbert's going to get sacked a whole lot this year.
The great Max Crosby couldn't even get a sack on
The
Justin
offensive
Herbert.
line is last year. The offensive line for the Chargers was hurt, and there was a lot of injuries on the front there. Came out of camp healthy this year, so we'll see what happens there. But it just Justin
Rayshawn Slater cards
Herbert.
to the moon.
I know,
baby,
right?
He's good.
Herbert gets rid of the ball. He does, and we've seen that.
Now that's a quarterback. I would dream for Justin Herbert to put on a Browns uniform. That's why Deshaun is there. But Herbert is a quarterback, okay?
Well,
Joe Burrow is not.
and he is. So let's bring
Herbert's
that
a
in.
man's man.
We're going to talk about plus or minus. This is the portion of the program where we actually talk about investments or things that you can get into. I want to talk about something interesting from this weekend in the hobby, and since we're talking about that, that is this card was pulled about 10 days ago.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks ago. The Black True
right.
Prism
Holy
1 of 1 Herbert. was pulled and graded a 9, went to auction immediately and fetched $1.1 million before buyer's premium. This card went for $1.1 million before buyer's
Then it followed
premium.
up with the National Treasure's logo. Did you see that?
Holy
the National Treasure shit. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus. See, this is why this guy...
One
That's
point-
why he's
Expert.
1.8 before buyer's premium, which pushed it over
Unbelievable.
2.1.
And look at the grade. Look at the grade of that.
What is it?
8.5. It is
Still
an
got-
8.5.
How many people walk in and be like, ugh, an 8?
Yep.
This is a
All the time.
BGS 8.5. This ain't a PSA 8.
is.
It's a BGS 8.5. That's like the that's worth an SGC. Like, it's bad. That's the worst. And that card just fetched what?
Unbelievable.
1.8 before the buyer premium.
You gotta love this.
1.8.
God, I love this.
Were these
hobby.
pulled in
You
a
know,
break? Well, I know the Herbert
so-
was
They
correct.
both, they
Yes,
both were
were
pulled
pulled
in
in a
break.
break. Both were pulled in a break. What this is in the market got me looking at it, and the trend is Justin Herbert, with the trend of the market down, is up 365% than he was a year ago last week.
Wow.
365%.
Rightfully so.
And Burrow is on that downswing. He was already on the downswing before the game, so you can imagine that that's going to tick him up a little bit. But I bring this up, and I brought this up because, one, I think we need to talk about this stuff in the hobby, what this does for the hobby. This is exciting for the hobby. The hobby needs these type cards. We need the $4 million Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
We need those cards, the big Lucas, and we need those cards in the hobby. We need those to happen to continue to keep the chase and the interest and all that stuff out there. Now, there's a lot of little rumor mill stuff that's going around. It's the reason why I bring this up is because there's a lot of this stuff in the hobby that's like moving and changing, and we don't know. And one of the things I wanted to bring up was the fact that Panini America has not put on their list after October. All of their product. Now, shout out to Sports Card Radio for getting this information together. They don't have a list of new product after October for 2022 product.
That's interesting.
Speculation coming out of that information being brought to light is people starting to discuss Panini America is being sold. There was questions about how they were going to handle it, and the National was a really good kickstart to that, which was they were moving through redemptions at a heavy rate, and right after the National, they came out and announced, if you have open redemptions of certain tier cards, we're just turning them into points. You're not redeeming them for cards. They're just going to go to points now, because the question that was being made, and my understanding is that Fanatics, who's obviously the leader in the clubhouse to buy that company, they were actually sitting there saying, with all these open redemptions, we don't know what we're going to do. So if you're Panini America, you got to scramble real quick and get that figured out. So what is that going to do in the hobby? What is that? They got football license still, and it's 2022. And we're already late on 21 product.
Isn't that a concern that there's nothing on that release list?
Yes and no. So I've seen it in the past. I follow this list religiously because we're always looking for an updated product and seeing what's out there. And Panini is on their website is always behind. They're always behind. They don't ever have anything listed throughout the whole year because they don't like to put out the revisions of them being late and late and late. Listen, we're already into September, and Origins usually comes out the first week of August, and they're not even talking Origins. So we're still 2 months away from Origins. So we're falling so far behind on all these products. It does not surprise me that they don't have anything listed. However, yes, there has been rumblings about it. We've been hearing it for weeks now, not alone months. I think this is the prime opportunity for it to start talking about it. The industry summit where all the sports card owners all come here to Vegas. We all go and we meet. We have these conventions. We talk about everything that's going on in the hobby. What's not a better time than now to get this thing sold and come out with something. So they didn't announce anything at Nationals, which a lot of people thought something might be happening.
There was a lot of rumors at Nationals,
Yes,
right?
big time rumors
Got
that
it.
something that Panini was going to be sold. The thing on it is a lot of people know Panini was almost bought. It was literally within days of being bought by Alex Rodriguez's
wow.
owned company.
Wow.
They were heavily invested, talking numbers, trying to buy it, and then it comes out that they just lost all that licensing, and then A-Rod stepped back and said, whoa, I'm off the table, because you ain't going to buy it then at that point.
No.
So we're not talking like a company that wasn't for sale. This company was already for sale.
Right.
Why? Because if you built up Panini to what it is today, this height of the market, when's the best time to sell your company? At the high of the market. So these guys are sitting there thinking, man, we can cash in billions of dollars onto this thing, and it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen at some point. I just don't know when. I don't. What
Sports Card Radio's conversation was is that they were saying that one of the major printing presses that does the majority of the printing was the reason why this is being pushed back, because Fanatics went and
bought out from
bought that out from underneath them, taking that facility away, forcing them to find a new facility, pushing everything behind.
That's true. I mean, brilliant move.
It's a genius move, and so there's no one in the hobby that would have thought of that except for when the acquisition of Topps, because that's what Topps did to Upper Deck years ago when they went and bought a bunch of the shares of warehouses that they were like storing stuff in to be able to move it overseas. They bought out a bunch of that, left it empty, but it was keeping Topps from having keeping Upper Deck from having a place to store their stuff. Couldn't get it turned over, and then they acquired licensing and all that stuff.
And there's so much to this behind the scenes that's going on, and yet Topps. So when you think about what Fanatics did and the purchase of Topps, because Fanatics is going to obviously come out with some of their own branded cards that will be Fanatics branded cards, and some different lines that Fanatics will come out with. Now they own Topps, so now they have Topps only did baseball for the last however many. They did garbage pail and little things and off the wall stuff, but they were strictly a baseball company. Now you're taking Topps and you're going back into 2006-07 when they were doing Topps Chrome basketball, football. Now you've got all those. They had to have a way to make these cards. They can't just go right back into the facilities that are doing it now. They'll never get the cards made. Right. So it was you knew that was going to happen, that they had to find the facilities to make it.
You just wonder why Panini is hanging out even. Like you figure every day that passes they're
less and less leverage.
It's less and less, but I think that they're thinking that what they're putting out is going to gain them at least more and more value of what they're putting out, maximize their retail part of it, because that was a big change. If you remember 2 years ago, that was a big change, right? That all of a sudden everything was available for retail off their site as well, and they started to kind of counter direct the market, which I told you when I first came on, I was blown away. This is a conversation I had with Jimmy, that I'd never seen a marketplace, didn't matter what collectible world it was in, I'd never seen a marketplace that actually self-regulated itself into elevated prices with the whole first off the line, and then that became the bottom of first off the line became the retail price. I've never seen that happen in the marketplace before, and they latched on and did that, and I almost wonder if they're grasping for the good old days.
Well, they've already started, because over the last 6 months since the Topps acquisition, never once could you go on the Panini website and buy a box. You just couldn't.
Really?
For years. For about 2 years, you couldn't go on there and buy any box. They were instantly sold out. And because why? They were mass distributed in and out to all these GTS, Southern, Peach, all these different distributors. They were giving out all their products, selling it, moving on to the next. That's what card manufacturers do. Now, Panini says, well, shit, we're on our way out. What are we going to do now? Why not hold the product a little bit longer? We've already made a shit ton of money. Let's list it on our website for a higher price. We don't have to distribute it out to these distributors. Let's sell it ourselves. Then they come out with the first off the line, Dutch auctions. Now they come out with online exclusives. You never seen an online exclusive ever in Panini until the last 6 months. Now you see it all. It's all happening. Why? Because they're in the thing that they will eventually sell, but they're grabbing as much money as they possibly can and why they can.
They're definitely doing the cash grab. So when it comes to that, I guess why I wanted to bring this up in plus or minus, obviously the Herbert cards were great and it's exciting to see, but my thing is, knowing that this is going to be a delay, knowing that I'm going to say we're 6 to 8 months behind minimum on products based on where the calendar schedule is. What is the sharp move in the marketplace, in your guys' opinion, right now, today, for at least the wax portion of what's going on? Because we had an onslaught in the last month and a half or 2 months of a bunch of big products all coming down within a 2 to 3 month window of one another. What's the play here? Is that stuff going to boom in price because nothing's available? Is there things that people can invest into and buy and hold? What are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. It's supply and demand. It's how it is. It's always is. Because guess what? There's more and more breakers every single day. Everybody thinks what we do is easy. They think they can come out and just, listen, I'm a breaker today. I'm getting on whatnot, and I'm going to be a breaker. And I'm going to get boxes. Guess what? 90% of those guys don't last, but guess what they're doing? They're opening product. The more product that gets open, the less and less that's available. When that happens, it's with any industry. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it be toys or cars or anything. What happened for cars, automobiles? They went crazy high.
They did.
I got offered $22,000 for my old Lexus. I'm like, mind blown. I tried to sell it the year before that, and they offered me 10. So in 1 year, it went up 12,000. No, it's because there was nothing available.
Right.
Everybody had money. Nobody had any cars. It went up. Pretty soon, it's going to be the same thing with sports cars. Nobody's going to have anything available. The prices are going to continue to rise and go up. That's just how it is with any market.
Would you say that it's better to invest into 2020 product still at the prices they're at with kind of like a maximized value in the wax? Or would you jump in the 21 market, which I personally think there's going to be some volatility. I've been calling for it for at least 3 months.
Yeah.
The Mac Jones demise, I've been on that. I've been saying it. I've been saying that that's going to happen and that I know it's going to be a real thing. When we have the Mac Jones sell-off, it's going to set the football market on their ear because so many guys are
We're about 6 games away
heavy
from
into
it.
them, right?
If the Patriots don't win a game in the first 6 games, which I very highly doubt that they'll win a game,
their
they're
team is
awful.
not good. Yeah.
They're awful.
Their team is not
And Mac
good.
Jones, he could be okay, but they're still awful. So everybody's going to jump off that train, and that product's going to dip.
Yep.
However, you do have these guys that are coming around like the Davis Mills and the Trevor Lawrences that are playing above what everyone else thought they were going to do.
Right.
So that's going to continue to carry the product. Same with 2020. When 2020 happened, we were this close from seeing the sports card industry go completely kaput. All I had to take was Herbert to not play, and we were done. As a hobby, those boxes that were selling for 2 to 3 times, all the guys that were lined up at a Target waiting to get those blaster boxes and buying them and reflipping them and selling them for 3-4 times what they were buying them for, we were this close to never seeing it because if Herbert does not see the field, every single 2020 product drops.
Yeah.
However, he sees the field, he looks great. Joe Burrow's done the first game of the year. Now, 2 years later,
looked horrible at the same
Correct.
time, and Hurts was kind of there.
now look at today. We have Jalen Hurts, we have Tua, we have Herbert, and we have Burrow.
Yep.
So we still have 4 guys that are all pretty much in the hobby that's stable.
All right, so it's safe to say that 21 product, you can get it now, and you're going to see a slight increase. The 2020 product, we all think it's still got a pretty good growth in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think.
What product would you suggest for people to be
just
able to
like
pick up?
this guy came in today and he goes, wow, 2020. He goes, man, you guys are pretty high on that. I go, to be honest with you, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't want to sell it.
Yeah.
That price is, I don't want to sell it. If you want to buy it, that means I can go and find it for cheaper and put it back on the
Absolutely.
shelf.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell any 2020 product. If I have 2020, it's going to sit on my shelf for the next 3 to 5 years because I think Herbert is going to be the guy. I think he's going to be the guy that in 2 years he's going to have probably 1 Super Bowl, possibly 2 Super Bowls. He'll be either in 2 Super Bowls or have won one. And everybody's going to be looking for that product to go through the roof, just like the Patrick Mahomes stuff went from 2017. What did that product do? For 2 years, it stayed level. Didn't move very much. He took off, that product went 5 times the value. It's going to happen with 2020.
Look, we have a box. We have a box of contenders up there for 2021, right? Tom Brady's rookie year contenders hobby boxes are going for $80,000 for one box right now. I mean, who knows, right?
Look what just did with that that $1.1 million Prism box.
That's exactly
Guess what? Those boxes are still going to be out there. They're still the golds to 10. They're still the 20 out of 25s that are going. Those golds to 10 are going to sell for $50K plus now after that card.
People are going to go searching for it. They're going to be
That's
looking
exactly
for 20.
it. Is that I think that what that did is that jumped the Herbie market into what is going to be. I think we all thought it was already going to be a monster, but
Next week I'll pull out
gonna
a
be,
couple Herbies that we have hidden in the back, and I'll show you guys some cool stuff.
Not the one that Steve sold, though.
not the one that Steve sold. Hey, did what I was told. I did. Nah, I you know, honestly, I think that when it's all said and done, because of the amount of parallels, and it was a booklet. But anyways, I gotta continue to do that. Trevor Thacker wants to know if Jimmy thinks or has accepted the fact that Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback yet or not.
Oh yeah, Josh Allen's number 1. There's no question. He's number 1 right now.
He is very good. Yep. Very good. And I still think he's still a little underpriced in the market. I think that his stuff is still fairly underpriced, especially when you get to the things that matter, the prism color, the select color, the silvers. Those things, I think Josh Allen is...
I'll pull out the... So next week we'll do a little show and tell. I'll show you some of the Herberts that we have, and I'll show you what we picked up of Josh Allen in the last 2 weeks. Because I remember going into the football season, I said we were going to go out and we're going to invest heavy into Josh Allen. And when we were at Burbank, I sent the guys out. I said, let me know if you see any good Allens out there. And I bought 3 of them while we were at Burbank.
Well, we talked about that going into the National, because we said going into the National, we said everybody's going to be buying Trey Lance, so maybe Josh Allen is the play. And I think it turned out to be probably the right play. So, some pretty good play there. The other thing is that I just wanted to mention, and I only like every once in a while, I got to pat myself on the back. We looked it up today. So when I said go buy Jalen Hurts at the end of last season, Jalen Hurts silver PSA 10s were selling for $110. We have confirmed sales over $500 right now. 4x your money in an off season.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's just crazy, guys.
I love this sport.
These things can happen, and they can happen. We just told you, and I was going to save it for this, but we mentioned it earlier. Davis Mills is your absolute play and buy right now. If you want to return some money this season, he is the absolute best. Your steady ones are going to be the Josh Allens, the Justin Herberts, and give a few weeks on the Joe Burrow and buy him at the absolute low, and maybe there will be a correction on him and we'll see a little bit better. But I will tell you this, Davis Mills, probably your best bang for your buck right now. There are cards sitting out there, big cards.
It's not too late.
For very little money, and it's going to be, there's a lot of non-believers, and that's what you need to be able to hit that home run with that guy, and Davis Mills is that guy. Now, I've been telling you guys that for, 6 months. I've been telling you, obviously T-Law is an absolute buy, and that should be, those are the T-Law thing is the easy one, right? Because he was big before. We know where he can reach. And then the last thing I'll tell you guys is you guys are about 3 weeks away. 3 weeks, and that's it, from being able to buy Zion Williamson. Because when he throws down his first dunk in the preseason, his stuff is going to the moon. Because the NBA has to have him do that. The NBA is all in on him. He will be all over marketing. He'll be on everything. He will be showcased all the time. He will be nothing but Zion, 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 Zion. It is going to happen. They want that team to win. They want small market to show they can win. They want that to be one of those things where they can say, this team is there. Zion, you're 3 weeks away, guys. This is it. If you don't buy Zion in the next 3 weeks, you're not going to be able to.
Buy with confidence.
100%.
Don't even worry about Zion. Look at it. He's first 3 seasons. Embiid, Zion. Zion's played more games than Embiid did in his first 3 seasons. Embiid's one of the best players in the league. Buy with confidence with Zion. He's fine. He's healthy. The guy was putting historic numbers up when he played. So.
And that team's good.
Yeah.
They're a playoff team.
They're
That's exactly it, and that's what brought him back. You want to know what brought him full circle was that whole run to the playoff situation.
Very good team.
That's what brought him around to say, I don't want to jet set out of town. I want to be with this young core guys. I want to make things happen. So those are kind of my things. Davis Mills, Zion. You should be spending any last allowance dollars that you have. Pick yourself up some nice silvers, some parallels, colors numbered. Get on that jump on that stuff now. Don't miss it, because this is your opportunity to do it. And then Steven mentions Michael Thomas as an investment. I have been saying for a while that I believe receivers are the play this year, just because you're not going to have all that rookie class of the other stuff. You are going to see some of these guys. Jahan Dotson's the guy that I said was probably going to be the one that by the end of the year will be the receiver that we'll all be talking about in the NFL as far as the rookie wide receivers go, because I think he has the best opportunity to do the most for his team. Olave is nice, but Michael Thomas is going to be targeted more. Gabe Davis was another guy that I've been big on. I thought Gabriel Davis, he showed us this first week what he can be, and Stephon Diggs was even greater than that. But that's a competent quarterback that can get the ball to both those guys.
Gabe Davis played every single snap of that game against the Rams. Stephon Diggs played less than 60% of the snaps. So Davis is obviously far and away the number one guy there. As far as playing time, right? I'm not saying he's better than Diggs, but it looks like Davis is going to be on the field every play.
Well, and I feel
he blocks.
He does block.
And I feel like the play on the receivers is pretty simple, right? And that is, you look at the situation with the quarterback that they're sitting on, right? And they're sitting there with, and that if you find the quarterbacks that can make the receivers better, and that guy's probably going to have success, and that success will equate in the hobby. And Gabe Davis stuff is just way too cheap right now. You can buy his silvers for $8 to $10.
I bet Tyreek Hill stuff is cheap too.
Tyreek is, and again, that is. But okay, we'll talk about that. But Waddle had an incredible day. Yeah. Waddle's another one of those guys. So there are some of those receivers you can grab. Just be smart about the receivers. If they don't have a really good quarterback behind them, a guy that can actually get them the ball, I wouldn't be trying to do it.
Don't get us wrong though; these are short-term investments.
100%.
When it comes to a wide receiver, the only people that we hold long-term are quarterbacks. Everyone else are short-term investments. Yep. We've all talked about it. Anybody on this group, the panel, if you're holding anything, it has to be a quarterback. Do not hold running backs long-term. Do not hold wide receivers. Definitely don't hold defensive players. Short flips. Buy them cheap. Sell them when they peak. Buy them cheap, sell them when they peak.
And that's going to be the move on any of these receivers we mentioned. And then your running back position, I think, is going to be when the 22 product comes out. As long as he stays healthy, Breece Hall is going to be the guy that you're going to pull him and you're going to flip him. Because he's never going to be worth as much as he is the days he comes out.
No, and he wasn't. I mean, Michael Carter, again, speaking of snap counts, Michael Carter was far and away better than him yesterday. Mm-hmm. And he's a 21 guy.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. But yeah, that's that. So as far as that stuff goes, that's going to be kind of the plus or minus. But I wanted to talk about that with the Hobbyscape and everything. Now it's time for us to get into fantasy because, again, it's fantasy football time. We're all invested. We were hanging on our seats yesterday, all looking at the different fantasy teams and stuff that we had done and what we did bad and what we didn't do. And there was a lot of good and a lot of bad yesterday.
Yeah, and I'll make this real quick. One thing I learned a long time ago about the fantasy football, especially when you're in multiple leagues, is just don't look at the scores. Don't look at the scores until like Sunday night, because otherwise you're going to drive yourself crazy, especially because I'm in 12 different leagues. You're going to drive yourself nuts. So I literally don't look at the scores until about Sunday night. The only one I watch kind of, by the clock is the FanDuel, because that's literally in game and usually it's only on Sunday. What I want to talk about today is waivers. Okay, so obviously this is going to be early waivers. The Seahawks and Broncos haven't played yet. Five guys that should be on your waiver list in no particular order depending on what you need. Jeff Wilson from the 49ers, we talked about earlier. Eli Mitchell out for 2 months. They like to run the ball. Tyrion Davis-Price is actually a do-not-play coach's decision. Mm-hmm. And Trey Sermon's out of town there. So Jeff Wilson's a guy I like quite a bit. Devin Duvernay seems to be the guy that Lamar Jackson's targeting. We talked about receivers-wise. I know Rashad Bateman did have a touchdown as well. Mm-hmm. Devin Duvernay had 2 touchdowns. Go grab this guy while he's cheap. Jaylen Warren, obviously, with Najee Harris, they're saying he could be good to go, but that could be another facade because if he does start and he does re-injure it, he could be out longer, Najee Harris. So Jaylen Warren's a guy you want to own in Pittsburgh. Khalil Herbert, we're talking redraft here. I've been banging the drum for this guy all year long in Dynasty. Yeah. Redraft, he may not have gotten drafted in your league. Go out and get this guy. He seems to be one lone bright spot they have in Chicago.
Guess who drafted him because of you?
Yeah.
Me.
Right.
I did.
You're welcome. And then the last guy I'll mention is Curtis Samuel. I like Jahan Dotson. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. He had 3 catches, 40 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and everyone sees the touchdowns. Curtis Samuel had 11 targets. 11 targets on a team that has Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, who's supposed to be the stud wide receiver coming in. Curtis Samuel gets 11 targets. He ended up catching 8 of those balls. And I know he did fumble on the one
he lines
carry.
up in the backfield, too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He got the carry and he fumbled, which obviously is a knock. But go out and get this guy, because if he's going to be getting anywhere near the 7-8 target range every game, this is a guy you're going to want to play in fantasy football. And then I'll get off this really fast. The rebuttal is I drafted. You asked me to draft your team. Mm-hmm. I drafted your team. You didn't tell me I had to run the team. So I put my 12 lineups in. I took Cam Akers out in my league, thinking that you were actually going to go in and do your lineup, but I guess I was wrong. I guess I have to run the team as well, so from week 2 on, I'll be running that team. I just wanted to show you just really fast because I did I did bench him. This is the league I have Cam Akers in, and Cam Akers was on my bench. So I knew not to start Cam Akers. I can't help that you did not start.
My reason for bringing that up
Thank you.
was purely the point of when you are in a fantasy league together with somebody or whatever, communication is key, and the two of you need to communicate better.
Well,
Can you draft my team? Yes, I can.
Okay. And rightfully so. I came out and I bashed him as soon as I saw him playing. I'm like, what the hell, Jay? I thought you were going to put in the right lineup. You're supposed to be the fantasy expert here at Game Day. How could you do this to me? We're definitely losing this. And I could probably show you the text message because it was probably about 45, I think, messages in a row to Jay over and over
When
again.
you sent him a message, did he respond? Because that doesn't happen. Right?
I get what is off my chest and then I ghost.
And then he goes.
Yeah, so
And then he goes.
I apologize.
But I get my statement in.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
he
did
won
you
mine.
guys-
Yeah.
You saw the GIF, right, with the clown face?
Yeah, I
that
saw
was your
that.
face. Did you notice that or not?
Oh, yeah, I saw.
I used the reface app. It was your face put on the clown mask.
Yeah, I saw. So
pretty
yes, I do apologize. I withdraw my 45 text messages. I will go back in and readjust it.
From here on out, I'll set your lineup.
Thank you.
See, look, and it happened.
And I won
in that
though.
league.
I'm a winner.
Look at the communication right there. That was key.
Just
All right,
kicked off here in Seattle.
real quick. We just got the kickoff.
Real quick,
so
let's do the picks
We're gonna do it.
For tonight, who you guys got?
I have to go Broncos and
Seattle.
I want to.
Seattle.
I want Seattle.
Plus the points.
I want
or straight up?
Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle outright winner tonight.
Yep, money line.
This is the biggest game of the year. They're going to go
It is.
Their
play
Super
out.
Bowl.
It is.
They want to win this game real bad tonight.
The sport that
Carolyn's.
it was going and been going, just real quick. This guy.
Comes. Albert sends one out to deep right center. It's at the wall. Good!
He
He's
doesn't
done
have
it.
300. This guy has 7.
697 home runs for Albert Pujols. 697. He leaped A-Rod. Takes the lead as the 4th all-time. What's really neat about that home run, you may or may not have seen the story. The couple that got the ball actually went to return it to him. They were going to give it back to him, and they weren't actually asking anything in return. Team said you can meet Albert. Albert said, keep it. It means more to you than it does me. And the reason he did that is because to the day, his father had passed, and so it was a pretty neat moment and pretty cool. And then real quick, just power rankings. We're going to run through it top to bottom, but I'm going to mention this just right off the jump. You don't see the Yankees on that photo. This is the first time all season there's not been a Yankee on the power rankings.
So
photo.
You asked me to write the power rankings down. I was going
did.
to do just the top 5, but the Yankees weren't in it, so I had to go top 10.
Yes, and hold on. Stay here because you
out
need to
of
stay
your
here.
fucking-
Hear me out.
Not
Hear
in
me
the
out.
top 5?
Sit down. They're not. In fact, listen to
guys-
this.
Guardians aren't
No,
in there?
hold on. Let me do this.
I'm outta here.
Hold this.
No, this is
Are
the
you
Major
ready?
League Baseball power rankings.
Here you go. Power rankings. And here's what I want to point out. I am appalled that a division leader, the Yankees, are below the second place team in their division in the rankings, as the Rays are ranked 6th and the Yankees are ranked 8th.
My! How would you even throw up this? This is.
Could you
oh
imagine
my God!
that?
We were 15 games up above everybody. We can't. Oh my God!
Here's what
I cannot
here's
start
what
the
they're
damn
telling-
playoffs now.
It
We
must
will
be-
destroy
it must be
everybody.
done.
Here's what they're telling you. That they believe that the Rays getting healthier are going to unseat
Oh, we
the Yankees.
will destroy them. $500 bet. Who wants to take it?
I don't want to take it. I'm not taking the bet. I'm
500.
telling
I'm
you
not a baseball
that
guy.
this is what they're telling you. Is that is? Let's
Anybody in the chat, you want it? I'll take the
We'll
Yankees.
run
You
through-
get the Rays. $500.
Here we
You
go.
text me.
Let's go down the list really quick. Dodgers at number 1.
Dodgers number 1.
Clear-cut favorite. Dodgers are about to wrap the division. Padres are 19 games out of first place.
Astros number 2. The Atlanta
Running
Braves
away
come
with
in
it.
at number 3.
Over the Mets.
Yes. New York Mets come in at 4, right behind
And
them.
the Braves had a 10-game run that has just been unreal, and they boat raced the Mets, and it
Does
was.
that say Cardinals?
Cardinals are number 5.
Are you out of your damn
We
mind?
have been.
You wrote this down?
We have
This is
been.
from MLB.com.
This is from MLB.com.
Oh, I thought
we
these
have
were yours.
been-
No,
They're
Major League
that
Baseball.
damn stupid too.
Major League Baseball.
We were going.
MLB.com.
We've been on the Cardinals for quite some time. We have been talking about how good this team could
And
be,
how underrated they
and
were.
now you have guys like Pujols and those veterans that are now doing their job as well. and making him even better. This is a scary team when it came to the playoffs. I told you guys this, and I told you that the Brewers, it was not going to happen.
That makes
touchdown in the Seattle
touchdown
game.
Seattle.
I told you. This is their Super Bowl.
It is.
Geno
Wow,
Smith.
touchdown
Will
Seattle.
Too.
All right, we're going to wrap this up real quick. Let's.
4 out of 5 are National League, by the way. 4 out of the top 5.
Yes, crazy.
It's coming in at 6 is the Rays. 7 is the Seattle Mariners. 8 is your New York Yankees. 9 is the Blue Jays, and 10 is the Padres.
I will $500 bet anybody watching, Rays or Mariners, we will destroy either one of them in the playoffs.
This isn't.
Put your money where your mouth
win
is.
The World Series. This is the power rankings.
Yeah, power rankings my ass. If you want the bet, you text me. We got the bet.
The Rays and Mariners have more power than the Yankees.
And speaking of, J-Rod game-tying home run,
There you go.
then you had a walk-off in Seattle.
Oh my God.
Last
We just
night.
scored 10
So,
runs in 3 games in a row, and we're in the bottom of the power rank.
runs.
Oh, my
You
God.
are.
You're
Yep.
8. I was going
It
to
is-
do the top
it's
5, but I
incredible.
didn't see the
So-
Yankees, so I did the top 10.
I can't wait for the playoffs
So guys,
to get here.
if we
You're
if we
welcome.
find a way to rile Jimmy up, that was my shot at riling him up a little bit. Glad we were able to take that
Unbelievable.
shot. You
Well,
deserve
I helped
that. You
you
deserve
out.
that after your first quarter celebratory text that you
was-
sent
it
yesterday.
was not.
This was definitely me
Yeah,
taking
Google, the
shots
Saints
at
are going to
you.
win 13 games, and it was the second quarter. And I was
I'll
like,
let you off the bet if you
Can
want.
we wait
Off
to
the
the
bet.
No, the bets.
No,
I actually
the
like
bet,
my
the
bets.
bet he
You
likes.
still like
The
13, so
Saints
let's
will win
double.
13 games.
Let's double the bet.
I'm not doubling it. I'm sticking with the 20.
Guys, this is getting
if
chaotic.
Winston plays all 17 games, they will go to the Super Bowl. So he
This is
definitely
getting
all
crazy.
17.
Guys, enjoy Monday Night Football. Make sure you join the shows on Whatnot.
Peace,
Both
boys.
Game Day Las Vegas and Game Day LV.
Let's go Monster Hunting.
Let's go, guys. Hey,
Let's
Facebook
go.
group, Breaks Are Live.